Well, the sun's not only setting on Planet Coaster 1, but also my final park of the game. It's a sad time, so let's go ahead and wipe away the tears and celebrate with some maintenance buildings, go-karts, and one of the iconic OG rides. Alright then guys, welcome back to Planet Coaster, welcome back to our Janky park inspired by Oakwood and Pleasurewood Hills here in the UK. And it is time. It is time to draw a close to our Planet Coaster career. Oh man, this is proper emotional because it's time for the final build in the final park, and this is what we're doing. So this is what we did last week. It was the wooden coaster. A bit of time has passed, by the way, since the last episode, so this park has sort of matured a little bit, but this is the area that we're going to be focusing on this week. It's the final bit that we need to pull together. We've got some go-karts, we've got possibly one more ride I want to squeeze in somewhere, but I'm going to keep that under wraps for now. And also, I do want to put in some kind of extra food unit or something to do with the lake. Then we need to finish off at the lake area around here, and we just need to finish off the outskirts of the park. So we need to do the car parks, we need to do the maintenance areas, and we need to do all of that sort of stuff. So it's pretty much a tidy up episode. There's lots to see, lots of change, but not necessarily the big stuff that you guys love. But as I said, it's the last episode for the last park, so let's get on with it, shall we? Alright, elephant in the room time, because some of you are going to look at this and go, why are you doing this as the middle part of the episode? You really haven't done that much. There's not that much to show. But you know what? This has actually taken quite a bit of time to pull together, and it's probably about time for the middle part of the episode. Plus, there's also some extra bits I'm going to show you on the outside in a second anyway. But this is ultimately the area of the park that's supposed to be the most forgotten, supposed to be the most unloved, but was also the original part of the park, all nicely coming together. Of course, I haven't done any of the terrain paints and the foliage and that sort of stuff yet, so that's going to make it come to life and it's going to give it a bit more bulk to it. But yeah, this is, as I said, supposed to be the part of the park that was pulled together, that would have been here when we originally opened, and it's now since developed around the outside. So everything on here is supposed to feel like it's old and been here a while. We're going to start here because I wanted this to be like the original food building of this place. This would have been the reason you came to the lake. This would have been like the refreshment hut or the restaurant or whatever. It's based on a Shoney's over in America. I loved like this whole building style. It was actually quite difficult to pull together this pitched roof because they overhang, but they also sit on top of another separate flat roof. It was quite a challenge to pull together, but it's done, and I quite like how this has turned out. They are so simple and so effective to pull together. I really like it. And if we go inside, if I can get the camera right, go inside. I'm keeping it really simple in here. We're done, right? We're done with the park, so I don't really want to do too much extra. Otherwise, we start to find that the performance starts to suffer and whatever. So we're done. I'm just doing the bare minimum. We've got the seats, we've got the bins, we've got the stalls and stuff, right? Planet Coaster 2 is coming. We'll be able to do far better interiors with the stalls and stuff. But it's the outside I wanted to nail. This idea of having the patio area that was originally here, that's now been extended because the park is a bit busier, and then you've also got the pier area or the quay area or whatever you want to call it, the jetty, the boardwalk, the whatever. It's all sitting there. I'm going to put some umbrellas and stuff around, so that's all going to make that all make sense. But it's all like nicely kitted out and decorated and stuff. And then I thought there's something that this park is missing, and that's an adventure playground. I've pulled the one that I've used for every other playground that I've done off of the workshop, and I've just put the mulch down, but actually this time it is sand. So but what I have done here though is put some of the dark brown ones in here, as if the actual wood chip and the bark has been moved away where there's high traffic areas, and it's now exposing the mud underneath. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. I did just have it where it was open with the mud texture. It didn't feel right, so it needed to have the mud texture, and I quite like it, right? It gives it a bit of aging. I'm going to put some foliage and stuff down here as well, just to give it a bit of age to it, a little bit of overgrowth and stuff. And yeah, I'm happy with that. So over this way, we then have the go-karts. I have just fenced it all off. I'm going to put a couple of trees and a couple of floodlights in here, but this is ultimately it. I don't want it to be themed. I don't want it to be elaborate. I don't want it to be anything. I just want it to be there. And even like this, there's still 1,000 on the old Prestige, so it doesn't take much to make an overpowered go-karts. But the actual station itself is just this angled overhang. It's nothing particularly special. The actual beams I've used here are from the workshop. It's the arrow support columns that you can find, and I've just put them on here. I've used them before for roofing stuff. I think I did it in Chachalandia for the flying coaster. So yeah, I've just reused that kind of idea, and instead of having the glass roof, I've actually used the same metal roofing that I've been using elsewhere. It's TMTK, by the way. It's hydro, and it comes in multiple different sizes and stuff, and it's just been an absolute godsend because you can create walls and decent ceilings and stuff with it. So but yeah, this go-karts doesn't need to be anything else. Don't want it to be anything else. But what I have done though is just put a bit of a maintenance area along the side here. I've seen a couple of go-karts that have got this kind of thing where they have a maintenance area right in the middle. This would be like where they would have all the carts and stuff, and you could transfer them back to the station and whatever from wherever you may be. So that kind of works, and it's all yeah, it's all good. Then over this side, I have just made this almost like a new area. Perhaps there would at some point have been games here, or a ride maybe, or something, but it's now just going to be the bungee jumpers that you can put in. But I wanted this to purposely be different, so that's why it's a brick area, and the brick is a slightly different color to the other bricks that you've got elsewhere. So yeah, it's just there. I did originally have lots of foliage around here. I had already put some of the plants and stuff in. It just didn't feel right when I loaded the park, so I actually ended up just deleting it. I do need to do something with it. I do need to put some bushes and stuff in, but I don't want it to be landscaped as it was originally. So yeah, it's all fine. And then over this way, we've got ourselves a scissor ride. I don't remember if the scissor ride was in before. I don't think it was. No, I don't think it was. I put it in afterwards. So anyway, we've got it's not scissor, this is the old school one, because the scissor one is too big. But ultimately what I've done is just a pad for the queue, and then this is probably going to remain grass. I'll just put a couple of trees and stuff down, maybe a bit of overgrowth just to pop out of the grass, but it's ultimately a lawn. And then that's there. This again would have been one of the original rides that would have been here when we first originally opened, and so we're just going with that vibe. Just simple fencing, simple concrete and whatever. And then we come to the other ride that's been added. It's the pirate ship. I kind of thought, why we might as well just like close with the most useless ride in the game. There's just no way you can get the prestige higher than 350 or whatever. It just doesn't happen. So this poor thing is so unloved, but it's really simple. I'm going to put some kind of like rock, what are they called? Oh, I don't know. I can't remember what they're called. It's going to be planters, it's going to be foliage and whatever, and rocks and flowers and stuff in there. Rock garden, that's it. There we go. I knew it would come to me. It's a rock garden. And then really simple queue, just to bring it around this way. And then it's on a concrete bed. So I did toy with like theming it and having rocks and stuff around, and it was just too expensive. It just needed to feel like it was slapped on the water using some concrete. It's aged horribly, so you've got all of the dirt decals and stuff all along here. And then I have just put the pebble mulch around, just because that's kind of what they would do. I'm going to give it again some aging and whatever with some foliage and whatever that's going to give it on there. And then this bit I have just put down the planks to give it some kind of a boardwalk feeling. I didn't want to use any of the in-game textures, so we kept it with the boardwalk, and I quite like it actually, so much so that I actually ended up using it over here as well on the bridge. So I kind of like it, and I was like, yes, that can stay. And then all I've done for the rest of the lake is I've just put all of the liner around, and then I've done the grass. I'm not going to bother doing the decals and stuff around here. It's effort that's not needed. I'll just throw some trees down so it creates the sight line, but there's nothing over there. You guys can develop it when you download the park if you so wish. And the last bit to show you is just pulling together the final bits of the park. So this is the entrance. If you have a look at Oakwood, it's not an elaborate entrance. There's no special engineering that's involved with traffic flow or anything like that. The car park is tiny. So what I'm going to have is a coach park that's going to sit here, the main car park that's going to sit here, access to the maintenance area that's going to sit here. This is essentially the main road. And then I'm just going to have the same this way as an access to a maintenance area that's here. This road then is the perimeter. I'm just going to put some mess and everything around, do some of the terrain stuff, put some foliage in, and call it done. So there you go. That's how we're sitting at the moment. I'm going to carry on. I will see you in a minute. All right then, you guys. The last update of the last episode of the last Parking Planet Coaster looks a little something like this. And yes, it's done. I am so chuffed. Like, this park has turned into exactly everything I wanted Reigate Lake to be, and I am so happy with it. This area, as you'd expect, came to life with all of the trees and stuff. I can't wait, by the way, for the scenery brush and the difference in trees and whatever, because this does get a little bit spammy, doesn't it? It does get a little bit repetitive, but do you know what? It works, and I am totally okay with this. I just love how these trees have just accented the area. I wanted this to be a little bit more open. I wanted this to be a little bit more natural, if you like, but also sculpted at the same time. I love how the go-karts go in between the trees, in and out of it and stuff. It just absolutely works. And then the terrain paint is now down. It just makes it complete. It completes this area. I'm glad this path is now finished. And I did all sorts of stuff like here with terrain, and I was like, no, it just needs to be open. It just needs to be grass. It's a complete juxtaposition here. I like that the railway line creates this sheer difference between the forest and the open. It feels like they would have put the railway line originally around the outside of the forest and stuff. So yeah, I just like it. Everything just feels like it fits, doesn't it? It's just good. So this is the boat ride, the pirate ship. Yeah, I like it. I did toy with the idea of just throwing down some pirate stuff, you know, but I spent the pirate budget on plants. So this is the rock garden I wanted. Again, it's not so much garden or gardened. It's not kept. You wouldn't have. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's sort of like wildflowers. They would just throw seeds down and let it grow, and then they just keep it up every now and again. But I like how it sits there. I like how awkwardly it sits. It's almost like there should be another one this side, just to sort of like make it symmetrical, but they didn't do it. There would be all sorts of reasons why they didn't, right? It could be that they actually just moved it because of the go-karts or whatever. But I just like how it just awkwardly sits there. If it doesn't fit, it shouldn't be there, but it should at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just... yeah, it absolutely makes sense. There's the go-karts then, and this is what it's looking like from the ground. I love these planters. These planters just give a little bit of difference every now and again. It's just nice to have this stuff around, just to give something to look at, but without actually having anything major to do, right? Because the idea of us having an open space and jank and whatever is that you just do as little as possible, but as cheaply as possible, but to get the maximum amount. And this kind of achieves that. And then, of course, we've got all of the trees and stuff around this side, and all of the terrain paint and whatever just makes this area. I like this tree here, by the way. I think it's clear. Yeah, it is clear. I like how the shade, it's like on the ride and stuff. It felt like this queue line would probably be a little bit too open. It needed something to go with it. But in the context of the whole park area, then that's how it sits, and it's exactly as I wanted it to be. If you look at the aerial images of Oakwood, it's pretty much how Oakwood looks. Of course it's a completely different layout, but it's exactly how Oakwood feels. It's like this area where they've built it up, but it's not dense. Not like we were talking about in the first couple of episodes anyway. Of course, the lake itself has now got more stuff. We've got more swans and more ducks and more fish. I've probably overdone the wildlife, if I'm honest. But it looks decent from across the lake here. I like you get a good view. By the way, that hyper in the last episode, that still fits in. Like the station is sort of here, so if you did want to put it in, then you could. And then this is the main area then for the food unit. I haven't done anything on the outside. I liked how the outside was. I've just put all of the final touches in, so the umbrellas, the bins, and the benches have all a bit of tweaking and whatever. Same over here with the playground. I've just put, as I said, the overgrowth in terrain paint and whatever, just to bring it to life. And I like it. I like how it sits. And as I said, I'm not going to bother doing the detailing and stuff around the outside of the here, because we're just not going to go down there when we do tours and whatever. It's not necessary. Now you have to sort of draw season to a close at some point. So, yeah. Okay, let's talk about backstage then, shall we? Because there's lots to show you, because this is how the park is looking from the top. It's come together quite nicely. I've decided not to do detailing and stuff on the road, partly because I don't have time to do it. I don't have the botherance to do it anymore. I'm done, I think. But also, if you have a look at Alton Towers and the road up to that, it's a single carriageway road. Most of the time, it doesn't have road markings in the centre, and so this is kind of consistent. But what I did do is make a bit of an effort with the entrance, put some flags up, put a couple of signs up, and I've just put in the extra signs on the roundabout for the coach and car park and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I've done a little bit of detailing. This over here would be a mud car park. They wouldn't attract many cars. Remember, we said at the start of the season, start of the series, this park would probably attract maybe 1,000, 2,000 tops a day. This is not a massive park, so the car park doesn't need to be big. And again, look at Oakwood's. Oakwood's car park is tiny. It's teeny little car park. So this is what I've done here. It would be a mud car park. Yes, they do exist. I know that I get flack all the time for doing mud car parks, and people are always like, oh, you should always have a tarmac car park. You don't, actually. Chessington says hi. Theirs is still mud. Alton Towers Overflow car park is mud. It's proper mud because it's on a hill. So it's consistent. And I like how this is like, and you could easily have this bit here as an overflow. You could almost overflow the car park into this area as well, and you could also overflow it into the coach park. So I like it. I like how it's all come together. And then the backstage here, it's all sort of like cluttered out. And I've just added in a couple of extra warehouses and just lots of clutter. If you have a look at the aerial images of Oakwood, there are so many industrial spaces at that park. There's far more industrial space than is needed for a park of that size, and each one of those spaces is an absolute mess. So this is what I'm going for here, just this absolute cluster mess of stuff, you know, like all of this stuff outside here and all of this stuff at the back here. It's just a dumping ground for all sorts of crap that they just threw together, and they've just constantly been throwing into spaces. Likewise over here as well. So it's exactly the same principle. This is slightly more tarmacked, but not pristine tarmac. So I didn't want it to be tidy. I didn't want it to be curbed. I just wanted it to almost as if they just thrown down some tarmac into this area. But yeah, you've just also got the clutter and stuff on the outside. Each warehouse here would have a purpose. This would be almost like garden furniture. This would be the actual gardens itself. Hence the reason why we've got the planters and stuff on the outside. Yeah, so these are the warehouses there, and then all along the outside and the perimeter you then have dumping grounds of stuff. So this is almost like a bit where they've just mudded it over, cleared the area, and then they just dump all of their crap into here. And that's just, you know, what happens. And you find that at theme parks, there's just so much of that going on. Then there's a little area here where there's just some stuff with overgrowth and whatever, and then again with your bins and your benches and stuff. Not bins and benches, what am I even trying to say? With your recycle bins and that sort of stuff all along here. It's just there, and then the road comes around this way. I've decided not to gate these off, by the way. Again, looking at Oakwood, they don't have perimeter fences as such. If you have a look at the road that goes around the back by Megaphobia, there's not even don't die fencing around there, and that's pretty, you know, yeah, that's pretty standard. But guys, ultimately, this is OakRoad Park, and it's done, and it's finished. And I thank you for getting to the end of the episode, to the end of the series, and to the end of Planet Coaster. Oh, God, it's proper weird. Next week, we're going to go on a tour of the park, and we're going to do all the rides and stuff. So please do join us for that. But as I said, thank you for getting to the end of the episode. If you haven't already liked and commented or subscribed, please do. Have yourselves a good week. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.